Good evening, fellow baseball way of lifers. Glad to see you all here. Um, just want to touch base on one of the family feud baseball questions we had yesterday, and that was the most beautiful thing about baseball is. A lot of you left a lot of great responses, and I thank you for that. And I'd just like to touch on some of the things that I believe makes baseball the greatest game there is today. Number one, it's timeless. Uh, we've been talking about the same game now since the late 1800s, and it's still America's game. It's still a tradition played from spring to fall. The pitcher's mound is still 60 feet, 6 inches away. The bases are still 90 feet apart. The fences are almost the same distance they were way back when, and it's still the same game. Some things have changed. Designated hitter, travel, West Coast teams, but that's inevitable as we progress as a society and technology wise. Um, and there's no denying the tradition. That's another beautiful thing about baseball. If you're lucky enough to root for a team that's played all these years, like the Cardinals, Yankees, Indians, Cubs, your franchise is drenched with tradition. And it's hard to believe being a Met fan, but it's been over 50 years now that the Mets have been in existence. It seems like they're still the baby team to me because when I started following, they were still basically a novelty. Uh, the other beautiful thing about baseball is it is the summer game. Basically, when baseball is played, although soccer is giving it a run for its money, but amongst us older folk, it is the summer's game. It's really the only game in town. It's played outdoors. You can't ask for a better sporting event to attend because of the weather, because of the fact it is somewhat affordable even these days. And you can go with your family or friends. And on top of seeing a good game, you can enjoy the bonding experience that baseball provides. Uh, it's played every day during the summertime, so it almost becomes a summer ritual where you lose today, hey, there's a game tomorrow. There's 162 games. That's a lot of games. So it's like a continuing drama, a soap opera. It seems to never end, and that's a beautiful thing. And again, the history of the game dictates that something new could happen just about any given day. You can go to a ballpark for 40, 50 years and see something you've never seen before once you get to the ballpark. Uh, and that's what makes it so beautiful. I mean, you could see a perfect game, which happens so rarely, an unassisted triple play, you go right down the line. A ball hitting second base and carrying into right field. I mean, there's so many nuances to the game that no other sport has, and that makes it so much fun to watch. Now, we did get a lot of responses to this question, and let me just highlight some of the responses we got, and I'll mention the victims who I'm going to choose and give them credit for what they say. Uh, and I'll comment somewhat on what they did say. So I'm just going through. Ed Marks basically summed up my answer when he says summer. That's what baseball is. It is summer. Um, Bob Poet says this poetically. He says, as a magic that brings people together as nothing else can. Amen. And that's why over 9,000 of us are in this group right here, is because it does bring us all together. Andy Choir makes it perfectly clear that the clock can't beat you. You have to have 27 outs to win the ball game. You have to achieve 27 outs by the opponent to win the ball game. There's no 15-minute quarters. There's no 45-minute halves like soccer. You have to get 27 outs. You can't run and hide. And Gary Mark Weinstein basically said what I said. He said being able to watch most games at home and not spend millions for a family day at the ballpark. Baseball is accessible. Even when you can't afford to go to the games, it is somewhat affordable, even if you have to pay for cable to watch the games. And like I said, it's nightly entertainment that can't be beat in the summertime when there really is no original programming on TV. Chris Hassett says simplicity. It is a very simple game, but yet it can be complex. Mark Montgomery highlights a potential triple. Simultaneously watching the runner, the outfielder digging the ball out, the relay to the cutoff man, the throw to third base. Yes, that's something we're missing these days is a little action on the field. But I have a feeling everything is cyclical, and we'll get back to the days where action is a big part of the game instead of a three-pitch outcome like it is now. Steve Hammonds simply says family time. There's no bonding like at a baseball game, and some of my best memories are at a baseball game with friends and family. Chad Odom summed up my feelings from before. He says 27 ounce, no taking the knee to run out the clock. I think Chad nails it there. John M. O'Toole sums everything up by saying everything. And you could tell John's a baseball fan because I agree with him wholeheartedly. Fred Nebbia says the simplicity and history of the game. Amen to that, Frank. I agree with you beautifully on that one. Stan Swiatek says the beautiful, unique sound of the crack of the bat. Music to my ears. There's no better sound. I think most of you will agree. Jeffrey Matson loves the tradition by saying everybody's standing for the Star-Spangled Banner and facing the flag in front of a beautiful field with the anticipation of baseball to begin. It is very picturesque when that happens, and it does make you feel good when it does happen. Nothing like standing for the Star-Spangled Banner before a baseball game. George Dillio says the connection it has with generations. Your grandfather could talk about the game to you, and then years from now, you could talk about the game to your grandson. It's something that is timeless and can be passed on from generation to generation. Mark Mitchell says the history of the game, and when the umpire says play ball. Are there two words any better in the English language than play ball? I don't think so. I don't think you're going to the wrong group if you think otherwise. Joshua Niederheiser says the smells of the ballpark and the ball field. There's nothing like it. It may not be the most pleasant odors, but they are the most satisfying. And you feel like you're home when you smell the ballpark. Joe Lima says summer nights. Yeah. Nothing like a cool breeze and 75-degree game under the lights, sipping a cold beer and watching a baseball game. Mark Peterson says the fresh cut green grass. Does grass look any better than it does at the ballpark? I ask you that right now. John Keenan, if you get what it's really all about, it becomes a part of who you are. Yes, pardon the pun, but baseball becomes a way of life. Stanley Lysick says, watching a game, drinking beer, and eating a hot dog. Amen, Stanley. And Harold Campbell stresses the fact that there really is no wrong time of the year to talk about baseball. Is there any other sport where the hot stove is almost as popular as the season itself? We've been talking baseball all off season, and it amazes me that you can do it and never get tired of it. From the free agencies to the trades to what you think your team might do, rehashing the old season, seasons past, players past, it never ends. It's beautiful. And a lot of repeats here. So even Shannon Gruber adds something that we haven't spoken about yet. Stadiums big and small. Every ballpark is unique. It has its own character, and it makes it a home field for that team and for the fan base. It's something that every fan can call its own. Robert Hall loves the sweet soul music when he says, hearing a pitched fastball hit the catcher's mitt, especially if the fastball is delivered by someone like Aroldis Chapman. Well, for me, it's even sweeter when it's Jacob deGrom. But we get the point, Robert. Thank you. And Austin Michael Knighton says, baseball is a metaphor for life. It's a lesson taught over and over. How many times have we seen a guy tee off on a ball and line it straight to the shortstop? So it is with life. But if you push and push and push, eventually it works out. That's the beauty of baseball. You fail more often than you succeed, but when you succeed, it's well worth all the failures you experienced. Ken Parsons, food connoisseur, simply says hot dogs. Who doesn't love a hot dog at the ball game? Tim Hury says 5-4-3, triple play. Bing, bang, boom. It happens so fast, you have to realize that 3 outs were made, but it's a beautiful thing when it does happen. Ken Jr. Ebel says the looks and sounds of the ballpark and the atmosphere. Nothing says summer like a baseball game at the ballpark. Salvatore Tartaglia says how long its history is and how closely knit it is to the fabric of our society. Yes, we can almost intertwine history of this country to what's happened in baseball throughout the years, and that's a good thing. Mike Saunders says it provides an escape. Timeout. It provides an escape from the headache of the real world. Yes, it does. No matter how old you are, you can become a little kid again and just get engrossed in the game, a team, a player, and everything seems better. Tommy Medrose says that any player can have that one great play or game or hit and become some kid's favorite baseball player. Look at Rob Deere at Milwaukee. Okay, Rob Deere, that's a blast from the past. He could hit a tater or two, and I get your point. The comparison and what ifs. Will anyone ever hit 400 again, says Alex Alvarez? You never say never. Always expect the unexpected in baseball. That's what I always say. And Todd Esserman. Now, this is a quote, and I'm not sure who it's from, but Todd has it in quotations where he says, man may penetrate the outer reaches of the universe. He may solve the very secret of eternity itself. But for me, the ultimate experience is to witness the flawless execution of the hit and run. Well said, Todd. I just wish we had more hit and runs these days. But like I said, everything is cyclical, and we may have the hit and run as a prominent part of the game again. Pete Graham nails it when he says that there's silent anticipation for every action. You tuned into every pitch because you never know what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. And that's a beautiful thing. Brian Aldridge says, played in the summer, watching games with dad, seeing Kenny Lofton hit a triple, amazed that Ken Griffey Jr. caught a line drive in the gap, watching Roberto Clemente enter the batter's box. Remember his head twitch? Wrigley Field fans giving Willie Mays a standing ovation at the top of the first. Sorry, I got carried away. No, you didn't, Brian. You're showing your enthusiasm and love of the game, and we love it. And then Joey Buchholz says that moment right before a pitch is thrown, when each fielder leans in, each fan leans in, the anticipation. I think Carly Simon should write a song about anticipation, but Joey nails it with that one. And Malcolm Snyder waxes poetic when he says, looking at the field as you walk through the tunnel. It's something you'll never forget. It's a view that lasts with you forever. Jim Strawn says the continuity of the game over the years, going to Wrigley Field and knowing that great players like Babe Ruth played on that field. That's kind of the sad part about Yankee Stadium moving to a different location, because until they moved in 2009, you can go sit in right field bleachers and say, wow, Babe played here 60, 70 years ago. Montreal Expos, the throwbacks is 90 feet bases and 3 outs. Simply said, so simple yet complex. Bill File says no clock. So does Norman Basilone. Steve Camp says no stall technique. James Watt says the strategy. Kenneth Albert Norton has the perfect summation when he says you can fail 70% of the time and still make the Hall of Fame and still be a damn good Hall of Famer. Gary Presley says the game's within the game. You're always psyching out the opponent or trying to get some type of advantage, whether legal or illegal. And Brad Peterson says it's a great game that teaches life lessons that one can apply for a lifetime. Doran Pelfrey says it's priceless, and it is. And Michael Rickman says, strike him out, throw him out. Beautiful. Bing, bang, boom again. What a beautiful sequence. Harold Zinnershine says, no tie games, except for that All-Star game one year. But that's beside the point. There are no tie games. You got to play to win. A lot of people love triples. That's been mentioned quite a few times here. Delman Donnie Bartlett says, summer fun and great games. I agree. Steve White says it's infinite in time and space. Dan Harrell says, over the shoulder catches, the view walking into the park and seeing the field first thing. Standing in Oakland Coliseum as Ken Griffey Jr. had one of his last at-bats for the Mariners in Oakland, watching old games. And Jim Cable says, web gems. Who doesn't like watching web gems? So again, you guys just nailed it. I mean, you want to write a book on the beauty of baseball, we take all your quotes, put it together, and I think we got something there. So once again, I want to thank you for your participation in everything that goes on in the Facebook group. Like I said, I'm archiving all these videos on YouTube. It's on the Baseball Way of Life. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, please subscribe to it, and you'll have a library of all the videos that you're beckoning. And like the video so I know whether or not you like it or not. If you don't like it, don't hesitate. And please feel free to leave comments. Talk to you very soon. Have a great night. And again, thanks for your time and play ball.